Welcome to the Cinema 9 podcast. Take two. You are here with me, Travis Roy, and our good friend, the royal Eric Branstrom. How you doing, buddy?
Good, Mike. I wanted
still
to.
Travis.
Oh, the joke. Little inside joke.
Sure.
You know what?
Sure.
We do the show so often with Mike as the host. Let's see. What did I say? I must have just had a brain fart there. But I'm happy to be here with you, man. We miss Mike Govier. He's our beloved host. No one can do it like Mike. No one. He's absolutely irreplaceable. And while he enjoys his time in Arizona, we hope in our hearts that he didn't skip it because it's Halloween season and we're going to be talking horror. We hope that that's not the case. But there's a lot of stuff you just can't put past Mike. I mean, seriously, let's be honest here.
This is baseball related. This has nothing to do with us. This is baseball related. This isn't.
Oh, that's good to hear.
I'm good. Arizona baseball. You're good.
Everybody's healthy. I actually did see Travis in person over the weekend, and that was just beautiful.
I went to lovely Griffith, Indiana last weekend with our good friend Corey. Eric hosted us. I got to eat some of that shepherd's pie, that long promised shepherd's pie. It was delicious. Mm-hmm. We did not watch a movie together. We didn't have time for that, but we did enjoy a nice fireside chat and some good times. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, it's different now. We're 44. It's a lot of like back pain talk, like back pain, remedy talk. Like, hey, man, I'm in pain. What do you do? Hey, we're still making an effort. Keep your friendship alive too by picking up that phone and throwing out an invite.
Yeah. That's really happening with me and my siblings. Like, we'll talk to each other, like, how you doing? My sister, I talked to her today. She's like, I got shingles. And she's not old. She just has RA. So, but it's just every time I talk to either one of my siblings, we're like bemoaning our bodies that are falling apart. But I guess that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah. Well, that being said, I do have some fun stuff planned for today's episode. We'll get into it in a little bit. It's Halloween, but figured we do quarantine viewing picks first, and then we'll get in some fun games, and then we'll talk turkey with Cabin in the Woods, which is tonight's retrospective spotlight film.
Sounds good. Yeah, this is our Halloween episode. We're recording on Devil's Night, so
I can't
wait
to hear what you've been watching these past few days.
I have not watched much. I have been very busy. It's the end of the quarter. I've been doing a lot of grading.
Yeah,
and I am pretty checked out in terms of personal life right now. Not a lot of time for it. If I got the time, I'm probably asleep. So I checked out with the perennial favorite of mine, one that you dismiss, but I love, called High Spirits from 1988, Neil Jordan's own.
Neil Jordan.
Neil Jordan.
Whew, amazing.
Yeah, and love the movie, love the soundtrack, love the depictions of these characters that I totally buy into. I don't know. It's one of the earliest movies that I loved, so I'd like to check it out actually a few times a year. But it's definitely a good Halloween movie because it's one of those
Gutenberg's hairy chest hold up, or is that product of its time?
No, but Liam Neeson's
of course. I wonder if they had a chest off, like, my chest is hairier. No, mine is. No, mine is.
Liam would have had to stoop. He would have kind of squat to get chest to chest to him. It would have been awkward.
Yeah, really.
Would have been. Yeah. But anyway, good movie. And there's a lot of I don't know if it's good or not, but there's a lot of new horror, a lot of stuff that has been available on the streamers. I'm like, yep, I'm going to watch that. It's on the list. We're going to watch it. I just haven't made the time, but I did make the time for this movie from this year that I probably wouldn't have if I had known that it was from the writer-director of the movie Caveat that came out a couple of years ago, because I was really not crazy about that.
But I ended up bunny statues looking at you.
Yeah, that fucking bunny statue, and a $500 budget. It's just, I don't know, that was slow as fuck. And this one was slow too. I watched Oddity, but I liked it. I did like it. I'm glad I watched it. It was crazy predictable. I mean, just a very predictable movie for the most part. There was one thing that was like, oh, okay, that was a little bit different than I thought. But so definitely predictable, but still worth checking out. It unfolds in a way that is satisfying. And so I would recommend Oddity. And that's it, man. Then Cabin in the Woods. That's all I really had time for.
Oddity, I think Shudder. I saw it flash by.
Oh, you know what? I will say one thing. The last two episodes of Agatha All Along are airing right now, which I'm going to watch them tomorrow. But I have really enjoyed that show. It's gotten better and better each episode, and it seems appropriate to talk about it on Halloween.
Is that a one-off, like just like Scarlet Witch show? Is that just one and done?
Well, it's kind of a sequel to WandaVision in a lot of ways, but it's its own thing too. It's definitely it's witches. It's Marvel witches, and it is fun. I really like it.
Seen those Spider-Man Noir set pics?
I have, and I'm excited.
Oh boy, if anything's gonna draw me back in, could be this one.
Old Nick doing what he's been wanting to do since Ghost Rider.
Speaking of witches, I'm the only male teacher at my elementary school with them, which I'm just fine with. I love working with women. I don't like working with men. But they all decided to vote on the staff costumes, and like witches won. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like,
you're a warlock. Be a warlock. Yeah, just watch the movie Warlock with Julian Sands.
Okay,
and do what he does.
Just dress up like Julian Sands.
Yeah, sure.
There's a bad joke there, but I'm not.
I thought the same thing, but I'm like, nope. I like the man, or I like
the Warlock. All right, we'll do Warlock. That's a good point. Oh yeah, okay. That's cool, man. Those are some solid picks, man.
How about you?
You're what have I been watching, Travis? I did pull the trigger. I spent the $10 that it took to be able to watch the new M. Night Shyamalan, because I watch whatever the man puts out. I don't care. This guy's had some abysmal failures after Earth, Last Airbender, but like I remember when he came back with, in my opinion, The Happening. In my opinion, he came back with The Visit, which I thought was a really creepy horror film. So I'll always be back. It's like he just seems like one of us, like a geeky dude that like grew up with like Spielberg and Lucas and old school horror that just like writes fun like Twilight Zone type stories, and like Hollywood backs him, and it's very inoffensive, kind of harmless product that he puts out. He self-financed Old, and I think he did a little bit with Trap too. Trap with Josh Hartnett, I had to hit play on. I was excited about Hartnett coming back. I loved him in Oppenheimer. I'm like, where the hell has this guy been? This guy's solid. He's matured into a great leading man. Let's get some more roles offered this guy's way. He gets the lead in an M. Night Shyamalan thriller, and he's fucking great in it as this weird dude. He's this weird dude that's under some bizarre circumstances at this concert. He may be hunted down by people that think he might be responsible for some deaths in the area. It's built up as this great mystery in the first act, and I'm on board. Like, this first act is fucking great, prime, exciting, intense Shyamalan. And then it tapers off, man. It tapers off about halfway through. The movie's kind of like, seems like it's over, and then it just kind of keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. And you're like, oh, dude, come on. I'm going to need a rewrite on. I need to polish this. Overall, I think it's worth it. Just, you'll know when to either hit stop or just get your phone out and fuck around until it's over. You'll know. Trust me, you'll know when.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited Hartnett's back. I do want to see his stuff, but Shyamalan's definitely one of those that reminds me that most great directors really only have 3 or 4 great movies in them.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, he could be one of them. A couple other shitty horror movies that weren't very good. But mostly, man, 4 seasons of the original Goosebumps from the 90s are on Tubi for free to watch. And this is a fun show. R.L. Stein's books, they came out, I think we're like 10, 11, kind of like good timing for us. Like Welcome to Deadhouse, Say Cheese or Die. You had the fucking Night of the Living Dummy. All these books have been turned into really fun episodes of I believe a Canadian product on television. Can't remember the original network, but they're fun. It's good light horror. It's great for like when you're an old man in bed at 7:30 and you want like to not be too engaged, but you still want spooky shit. It's fun.
That horror that's made for people that are like 12 or 13 years old. It's kind of a sweet spot for me. I do love that genre. Yeah. Spooky kid stuff.
Spooky, like Monster Squad, Mr. Boogedy.
Love it.
That type of stuff, where kids are having to deal with supernatural entities and their parents are like, get out of here, kid. You go to bed. But they're like, no, this is really going on. That's like every single episode of this show. It was every single episode, every one of those books. And they tried to bring it back. I'm trying to remember this fucking network that they brought Goosebumps back on. And I'm like, are you serious? All right, let's go. Updated versions of the original books. No, it's like 19-year-old, like hot kids, like dealing with supernatural stuff. And I'm like, you're losing the entire essence of what this show was all about. It's about kids my age, like when I was a kid. It's about like sixth graders that you can identify with dealing with like monsters and stuff. It's not the same old shit you can see in any spit and you can hit it horror movie out there, man. But it's good. It's fun.
Mr. Boogedy hold up?
I watched it a few years ago. It's not good. It's not good.
That's why I haven't.
Fun in a cozy kind of way, but I'm like, oh my God, I was scared of this.
I was entertained by it anyways, but we were 10.
Yeah, that's about it, man. We're looking forward to a fun night tomorrow night, and that's gonna be it.
Yep, I got candy ready this year for once. Well, I usually do, but I forgot to buy candy last year, and I felt really bad. Turned the lights off, put a little sign up on my door. Out of candy. Never had candy in the first place. But this year I'm prepared. I'm ready.
Honest about it. He's hiding behind his couch. He's not even honest.
I guess I'm a lying asshole. But before we get into the cabin in the woods, you have some sort of Halloween inspired game for us today. I'm excited.
I've got some fun planned because I knew it was just going to be just the two of us. We got a film here that I only have a few notes on, so I wanted to make sure there's plenty of meat on the bone for a Halloween celebration when it comes to Cinema 9. I suppose this would be our 4th annual Halloween spectacular for the show.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a 4th annual Halloween special. So I had to wake up, splash some cold water in my face, and realize the significance of this because you and me love horror. And it's time to have a little bit of fun in Mike's stead. And it's in his honor, too, that we played this fun game of horror trivia. And I know what you're thinking. I'm not doing the classic, like, who wrote Misery. We're not going to have any of that bullshit.
Stephen King.
Yeah. I came up with questions. I came up with great questions that maybe I didn't even know the answers to. And then I went and found the answers. And I've got some excellent material here, if I do say so myself.
I'm excited. Love trivia.
First thing I do want to ask you is, as a kind of warm-up question, this is more of an open-ended Halloween question. The great faces of Mount Rushmore give us Washington, Jefferson, Old Teddy, Old Abe Lincoln. I'm pretty sure John Lincoln. Who the fuck knows? That other guy no one really remembers. Franklin Pierce. Who knows? Who the hell knows? If you were to put 4 horror icons on the horror Mount Rushmore, who would you pick?
I mean, icons in that they are the most widely known and beloved and celebrated, as opposed to like my most widely loved, my most loved and celebrated.
Who do you think the royal decree would be here? Who would popular demand would vote? Oh yeah,
popular demand is obviously Mike Myers, Jason, Freddy, Chucky.
Okay, that 4th one I was interested in. Michael Myers, that's a given. Freddy Krueger, that's a given. Jason Voorhees, absolutely. He's going with Chucky.
Chucky, number 4. I'm going to give to Chucky. Yeah,
I'm with you. I did end up putting I think I put Leatherface on there. I could see that, but I find personally, like,
if you showed them to kids, like
Yeah.
Joe Camel,
Who are these?
versus Mickey Mouse, who are these people? I think they're going to recognize.
That's
Chucky
a good point.
myself.
Yeah, I thought about maybe Ghostface, maybe Pinhead, maybe Pennywise.
All good choices.
I don't know.
All good choices.
That's a pretty solid choice. I didn't consider all age ranges. That's pretty solid. Okay.
Ooh.
The warm-up is done, and you gave a great answer.
I appreciate that. I won. What did I win? I didn't win. I played.
My ongoing respect. In 1932, a film came out called 13 Women that's widely considered to be the first one of these in the horror as a horror subgenre.
Found footage?
Oh, it's a good guess.
I mean, usually it's Blair Witch, but I thought maybe there was you'd uncovered something. Okay, what is it?
Yes, it is first slasher film. First true slasher.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was Psycho, I guess, but
there was some discrepancy when I went to a few different websites between 13 Women and Peeping Tom.
Oh yeah, that one too. That was like the 50s, wasn't it?
Yeah, 60.
Hmm.
Yep. Okay, great. Found footage. I think everyone's pretty cool with Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh yeah, sure. That predates Blair Witch by a good 20 years or something.
Yeah, great films. Okay, cool. Now, again, these might be a little bit tricky.
All right.
Now, everyone knows that the great Tony Hopkins won Best Actor for a horror film, right? And the Oscar of that caliber in a horror, this is unheard of. But it's not the first time a male actor, has won Best Actor for a horror movie. Do you know the first?
The first, did Bella or Cheney win or anything like that back in the day? No. Give me one more guess. Well, give me a hint. How about a hint?
The character has some duality to it.
So it wasn't Cheney playing Dr. Heckle and Mr. Hyde. That's a Men at Work song. Men at Work ruined Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for me because I want to say Dr. Heckle and Mr. Jive every time. Yeah, I don't know.
You got the film right. It is Frederick March, 1931 for Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. A very, very fucking creepy performance and a great transformation to this day.
Cool.
Yeah, that tricky one.
Yeah, I'm feeling like I don't know my horror movies.
I got to ask you this, man. What horror movie has, as of 2024, the most sequels?
The most sequels in a horror movie?
Yeah.
Friday the 13th?
That's a great guess. That's an excellent guess. Give me another guess. Incorrect.
Halloween?
Also an excellent guess. I believe Halloween is number 2. There's a tie. Halloween had 9 sequels. It's not the correct answer. Halloween had 9 sequels. Puppet Master with 9 sequels.
Wow.
And the Amityville Horror also produced 9 sequels.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And this is a strange one because I kind of remember this cover box in 1988, but I don't remember Witchcraft that much. Witchcraft.
That's got the most sequels?
Yeah. As of 2024, because Witchcraft 15 Blood Rose came out in 2017.
Have you watched any of these movies?
No.
I'm not even sure if I've heard of Witchcraft. I'm pretty sure I have.
Hot naked woman with like a pentagram on the floor. Witchcraft. I remember that VHS, but 15 sequels. Direct continuity.
Someone needs to start cranking out some fucking Friday the 13th sequel stat.
It's funny you say that because Friday the 13th is one of the guesses in my next question for you this evening. All right. When it comes to classic horror movies that spawn their own television series, can you name the one that did not end up getting a series? Friday the 13th.
That did.
A Nightmare on Elm Street. The Exorcist. And the Amityville Horror.
Oh, shit. I mean, the only one I know for sure out of those is Friday the 13th. Exorcist, Amityville Horror. What was the other one?
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street? I don't remember a Nightmare on Elm Street TV show. It seems like that would stick out in my memory, while the other two might skip by my attention. I'm going to say Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, correct answer is Amityville Horror. Never had a series.
What's the Nightmare on Elm Street series?
Freddy's Nightmares. Remember Freddy's Nightmares?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Freddy's Nightmare. The inaugural episode, directed by Tobe Hooper, The Origin of Freddy, where Robert Englund played Freddy with just as a regular guy, and they talked about how he became Freddy. The parents killed him. Right. Fucking awesome. It's on YouTube. Yep. Okay, man.
Shit. Man, I don't think I haven't gotten a single one of these right. Jesus fucking Christ.
Okay.
This is brutal.
Well, maybe you'll learn a few things or two.
And you too, listener.
Travis, I gotta ask you this. What's the highest grossing horror movie adjusted for inflation as of 2024?
I would guess The Exorcist adjusted for inflation. Well, not counting Jaws.
Correct answer is It Part 1 from 2017.
Really?
Yeah, those were all on the list, but it destroyed them all. People could not wait to see what this was all about.
And then that second one came out. And we were like,
oh Jesus. God, yeah. Yeah.
You should have taken your time, guys. First one was great. We could have waited a couple more years.
Damn.
Well, they had to crank it out fast before those kids aged, I guess.
It's so true, man. We don't want CGI kid faces like 1 year later.
Yeah, de-aged 19-year-old.
All joking aside, and I'm going to have you guess this. If you get it within 5, I'll give you the pie piece here on this one, Travis.
Okay.
How many Stephen King film adaptations have there been?
So many.
This does not.
My God.
This doesn't include remakes. This is just like, you know what I mean? This is just like how many
of his books or stories
made into films?
Does that include his dollar deal where he would let students?
That's another one of my notes. No dollar babies I have written down here.
Yeah, dollar babies. Okay. No dollar babies. Although a few dollar babies later got made into full-on movies. My brain's saying 30.
Okay. 51.
51. That's a lot.
Incredible. It's amazing.
That's incredible.
Some great ones.
All right, well, start naming them. Settle in, listener.
Oh my God, dude. I'll give you some underrated one. You know what one I've always loved? When it comes to TV miniseries, I have a special place in my heart for those because when they came out, I would watch every single one. Remember?
Yeah. Although I still haven't seen Storm of the Century, which makes me
that's my favorite. That's one of my favorite ones. I mean, it is my all-time favorite horror movie, but my second is Storm of the Century. Storm of the Century is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
If you can pin it down, it's fantastic.
Is there anything that made into a movie that you'd like to see besides Dark Tower?
The Long Walk, but it's happening right now. It's finally happening. Finally happening. You?
It is. I forget the full name of it because it's like the character's name, but in his most recent collection of short stories, there was a novella called like Danny Something's Dream that I thought would make a great movie. I'd like to see that one done.
Did we ever get The Girl Love Tom Gordon?
No, I don't think that was ever made into a movie, although I wouldn't mind seeing it.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Okay, Travis.
All right.
Can you name one
question for me to lose?
Can you name one Dean Koontz book or movie?
Yeah. Dragon Tears was one I particularly liked.
Really?
Watchers was
shit,
Corey Haim was based on a Dean Koontz film. Hideaway, I was pretty excited about when that came out, and it turned out to be not nearly as good as the book, but still not bad. Dean Koontz. Those are the first 3 that come to mind, but if I had more time.
You win. You win the entire game.
Okay, sure. You got 8 wrong, but you knew some Dean Koontz stuff.
Dean Koontz. Okay. Do you got time for a bonus round?
Yeah, of course.
Baker or Botine? Baker or Botine? Baker nice. Or Botine?
Okay, ready? Rick Baker or Rob Botine? All right, which
Rick
one
Baker?
Did the special effects?
Which one did the special effects makeup?
I love
Rick Baker or Rob Botine? Here we go. This is going to be a speed round, okay?
Okay.
Here we go. 7.
Baker.
Botine. Shit. Deep Rising.
Botine.
You got it. Bing. Thriller. Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Baker.
Bing. Fight Club.
Baker.
Rob Botine.
Oh shit.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Baker.
Rob Botine.
Shit. I thought
Star Wars.
Rick Baker.
Oh, Legend.
Oh, that's Rick Baker, isn't it?
Is it
Botine again? God damn it. We even did that one on the show.
Yep. Harry and the Hendersons.
That definitely is Rick Baker.
Bing. The Frighteners.
Botine?
Rick Baker.
Can't guess Baker for everyone. Then I finally switched to Botine and get it wrong.
Inner Space.
I'm going to say Botine again.
Rob Botine. He's got it. Nutty Professor.
Rick Baker?
Rick Baker is correct. Total Recall.
I think that's Rick Baker too, isn't it?
Rob Botine.
Shit.
And finally, The Ring.
Ooh, I'm gonna say Bottin.
Rick Baker.
Shit. All right. Well, I don't know my stuff. I'm clearly not a horror fan. I don't know fucking dick about shit. Never seen a horror movie.
You didn't want me to throw you softballs. What's the fun in that?
No, I did not. I'm not disappointed in you. I'm disappointed in myself.
No, don't be. You're a true horror fan. Celebrates it the whole year long. There's no denying that.
That's true.
Don't be ashamed of yourself. All right, let's get into it.
All right, let's get into it. We are talking about The Cabin in the Woods, the premiere film, the first film from director-writer Drew Goddard from 2011. Did you notice that Joss Whedon was a second unit director on this thing?
I knew he wrote it, but
no, Drew Goddard wrote it. Didn't he?
Joss Whedon and Drew Goddard wrote this in 3 days, and it shows.
Oh. Okay, and it shows, which is the tipping of the hand. Eric did not like. Eric didn't like this movie going in.
You know,
you have
what?
Strong feelings on it. You told me when I saw you. Go ahead,
Travis. There was a real awkward pause last week. I hate an awkward pause. I've kept up many nights by that awkward pause after I announced my film. No one says anything. I hate it. I hate it so much. I could jump into a time machine. I'd probably take out Hitler and do something about the whole JFK thing. And then I would change a lot of my picks on Cinema 9 podcast. There's no doubt about it. So I feel your pain. Because when I first saw this in 2011, Travis, I walked out of the theater pissed. I did not like it.
Clearly. I had the very opposite experience. I didn't see it in theaters, but I did see it like pretty early on when it was on DVD or whatever. And the reason I wanted to revisit it was because there's two things that really drew me into this movie that made me love it back then, which is, for one, the premise. It's I think it's got a very interesting premise in that it goes out of its way to try to explain horror movie tropes and like retroactively fit them into this other story about how this is all necessary to keep the old gods from coming back. So that's one thing I always loved. And the other thing I always loved, of course, is Jenkins and Whitford. These two guys had an office comedy together and a black comedy together. I am 100% on board. One of the only complaints I have about this movie is that I want like 30% more Richard Jenkins and Bradley Whitford.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. Have you seen it since the first release?
Yeah, this is one I actually bought on Amazon Prime, so I quote unquote own it. Unless I ever cancel my Amazon Prime account, which I have been considering. A while ago I wanted to watch it, and that's why I ended up buying it there, but I probably hadn't seen it in like, I don't know, 5-10 years.
Okay. Well, we welcome it to the program. Can you give me an IMDb score on this product?
I'm gonna say 6.7.
A bit low, my friends. 7.0 on the IMDb, 462,000 reviews. So
a lot of reviews.
Yeah, people are pretty happy over on that website. As we turn our eyes and ears to Rotten Tomatoes, the critics are happy, and it's fucking fresh at 92%, according to this thermometer. Wow. 291 reviews. The crowd, it's buttery. It's not stale. It's solid. It's got that gross ranch powder on it. 74%. So people are not pissed. So what we're going to do now is, of course, turn to the top critics to get the word on the street back in 2011, 2012, kind of right in there. They filmed it in 2009, I guess, and it was on the shelf for financial reasons, and then it finally came out, and everyone took a look at it, and critics were happy, man. So what we're going to do is take a look at some of our usual picks here and see what the word on the street is. I mean, I'm no Mike Govier, but I go straight to the top critics, our old friends. Let's take a look at a review from A.A. Dowd. Okay, Time Out Chicago. This guy's had some good reviews in the past. We don't hear from that often. He gives it a fresh tomato. A fiendishly clever genre Rubik's Cube that demonstrates, if nothing else, how much Fangoria fare benefits from the wicked wit of a real writer. Okay. Saucy? A bit saucy. Leonard Maltin. The man, he was, in his time, this was a celebrated critic, but he was. I don't know nowadays, man. He's a top critic, and he gives the film a red tomato. Everybody likes to be in on an inside joke, but so many horror movies have hopped onto the bandwagon of self-awareness that the joke itself might be getting a little bit tired. And he gives it a red tomato.
I was gonna say, and he gives it a red tomato. So I guess that's that was a tentative tomato.
It's a tentative tomato there. And there are some splats here. Okay. Not all the critics are happy. And that includes a fantastic critic by the name of, how does Mike do this? Rex Reed from The Observer. This guy is no spring chicken. He's been there. He's seen it all. And when it comes to this film, which he gives a score of 1 out of 4, he says an entire row of what they call fanboys at the screening I attended laughed all the way through the movie, although I failed to see anything remotely amusing. This guy's pissed.
I don't know if this movie was for Rex.
So is Mark Olson. This guy from The Village Voice is livid. More than anything else, Cabin feels like the end game of so-called fanboy culture. Here we go. In the way in which it's first and foremost about itself, interested only in a fundamental adherence to rules of its own devising and fenced off from the world at large. He's not feeling it. Sounds like a lot of these critics think this movie is up its own ass.
Well, some. I think that his first point is valid, but once he starts getting into like it's following its own rules, like every genre movie, there's rules that it's following.
That's a good point, man. Every I think fucking watch Scream too. I didn't bring that up. I had bought it and I went into my watch library. I'm like, fuck, I bought Scream. Let's turn it on. Fucking awesome. It's
great.
It could come out today, that original, and it would still be fucking fantastic. I like 1 and 4. The rest suck. But that first one's fantastic, and it's all about the rules and the genre and all that trope stuff. And yet we come away with an incredible slasher film. So your point's well taken, man.
And any science fiction film or superhero movie, they're all going to have like a set of rules. Anyways, carry on.
Joss Whedon, there's the writer here. Joss Whedon and Drew Goddard were the primary writers on Buffy, Angel, Alias, all of these kind of under the radar films that had like these big fan bases back in the late 90s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they came out with this, hammered this out in 3 days, delivered it to the public, and it was definitely something different. Remember this poster with like the weird cabin? It's like, well, the cabin doesn't just look like a cabin. There's something weird going on here.
You say that like they hammered the movie out in 3 days. I'm sure they did the first treatment of the script in 3 days and tweaked it as they went along. The premise was nailed down in 3 days. You're making it sound like it was fucking slapped together.
That's true. I can accept that comment. Yeah. How do you want to attack this?
Well, the movie works in some pretty clear acts, I feel like, and it's deliberately working with archetypical characters and tropes. So we could really start with any of those, I feel like. Why not start at the beginning? We're introduced to the pantless virgin.
Sure.
And followed by what they call the other one, the whore, I'm guessing. Even though this woman's clearly not, they put some stuff in her hair dye to make her cognitive function decline.
Yep.
And they're already working on this group, right? They're already working on the jock. They're already tracking them. They're already fucking with them.
Out of tampering.
Yeah, the puppeteers, right? As Marty would say. And I think that's the fatal flaw of this movie is that, and maybe that's partly why I've always kind of liked this movie, is that the director that we meet at the end, or whoever that is in charge of choosing the American, at least, sacrificial victims, assumed that Marty was a fool because he's a stoner.
Yeah.
But Marty's not a fool. He's a stoner, but he's not a fool. And he ends up, well, that and the fact that his weed somehow renders him immune to the mists and stuff, which it must have been the specific strain. Otherwise, that would have happened a long time ago. But so those two things combined end up causing, the collapse of the entire system here that they've devised.
You bring up some great points. If you haven't seen the movie before, yeah, we're introduced to your typical crew that's going to go into that cabin in the woods and fuck around, have sex, end up getting murdered by the slasher.
They have to transgress. That's one of the rules.
They have to transgress, but we've got some fuckery going on here, and I love your point because like when we're introduced to Shaggy, I guess we could just
his name's Marty, but yeah.
He talks about he says it himself, he's like, don't fuck with me. I'm the type of guy that if I get pulled over, I'm gonna be able to argue my rights to the cop and then get away because he's intelligent.
Yeah, he is.
Which is cool.
He is kind of foolish, but he is an intelligent guy.
I liked that. And you're right. This isn't like we got like sports. I don't know Chris Hemsworth's character either. I mean, sports. We got like football.
The athlete.
Who's
there on a academic scholarship. Turns out he's actually pretty bright. We see him like earlier on, like in the film, taking one of Dana's books off her own shelf and being like, "Hey, read this."
yeah, it's so true. But they leave the house and then we get this shot of this dude like on a fucking like Secret Service headset, like all clear and stuff. Yeah, we get these clues. I don't remember. I gotta be honest with you. I don't remember any of these. For some reason, I thought this big surprise came at like the end after all of this like typical slasher stuff. I remember like all of a sudden at the end, it's like, no, it's not this, but there's hints throughout the entire movie that I did not remember.
Hints. The movie starts. The movie starts with Whitford and Jenkins. And I love that fucking credit. Like, are you even listening to me in the credit? So it's all being so they're like main characters, and it's all this is being. I mean, it's not even like hinted. It's like we're being shown. The big twist at the end is that they go down into the basement. But I mean, we're like less than halfway through the movie when there's an expository dump where Jenkins explains they have to transgress, they have to die, the virgin can live or die. Like there's all this stuff that's happening that's explained pretty early on. The customers are these gods, but it gets hinted to.
Yeah, there's hints of I think they call them the ancient ones, but it's like, come on, it's the old ones. It's H.P. Lovecraft's old ones, ancient creatures. I like that. I like all the office stuff. I like all of that stuff.
It's fun.
It's a lot of fun, and these are two seasoned veteran actors that can pull it off in this dry draw way so perfectly.
Fucking Whitford, when he's like, like when he thinks that she's died, he's like, she's gone through so much, and she's just endured such hardship, and tequila is my lady. So fucking funny, dude. I love it. Love it.
I have a lot to say about all of that stuff. I don't have like it's all great. But I mean, mostly like what I need to talk about here is how like I don't care about any of like the whole like cabin stuff and like the whole we're doing like the setup like with the kids. Like I just wish I cared more about the kids. And Joss Whedon is Mr. Make Them Care. That's his big quote in his book about screenwriting, make them care. And yet I don't care about any of these kids. It's a problem for me.
That's fair. I mean, we got 5 characters that are all, I mean, deliberately sort of flat because we get the sense that they're being shoved into these roles that's been chosen for them because there are parts of their personality that work. That Kurt, played by Chris Hemsworth in an early big role, that he, for instance, he plays football, but he's not like a meathead. So I think that they do an okay job at setting up how they don't quite fit into these roles, but you're right that we don't get enough time with them to really care about them. But I also feel like that's still kind of in keeping with the tropes that they're kind of playing with a horror movie. And in a normal horror movie, we're introduced to say roughly 5 characters that we're going to watch get murdered. And it's easier to cheer when they die when we don't care about them, which that's especially in the 80s and 90s, and 70s. That's pretty much how it worked. We didn't necessarily care about all of them. Maybe, the final girl, but most of them were pretty flat characters. We were just kind of waiting to die.
I hear what you're saying. And that's a totally valid point. I think my problem is like, if you're going to have something this fresh that starts off like this, it's like, what the fuck is this? This is so fresh. And then like, I think like the idea of them being flat, like typical, well, this is what we have to do type of characters. is just so uninteresting to have to watch. It works on paper, like, well, they have to be like that because they have to get to the cabin, and then we have to have the sexy dance. They got to get drunk. They got to like, they got to flirt. But like having to sit through that is just dull. I just wish there was maybe. And Joss Whedon's a great racist scumbag, but he is a very sharp writer. But I needed a little bit more here in these scenes, man.
I feel like that's why we get so much Jenkins and Whitford, is because these scenes are interspersed, and for exposition, but more for comedic effect, and to keep us entertained. Because a lot of there's two things that's really happening in the first two acts is that, for one, we're getting fed a very familiar kind of horror story that we've seen before and many different versions of it. And so that's a little bit dull, but we're also at the same time, it's like there's this mirror image of the story that's taking place literally beneath them, where we're also seeing the way that this is all being well puppeteered and rigged and all of that. And the reasons why, right? Like we learn about Kyoto and how like the Japanese are working on doing the same thing. There's other countries, like Sweden's working on one, but it fails. Like, there's all this like there's this world building and mystery building that's taking place throughout a lot of those first two acts that are prepping us for when Marty and Dana go underground into the underground system. So I feel like, your complaints are so valid, but to me, all of this mystery and black comedy and stuff that's getting interwoven in with it is what keeps me interested.
The best scene in the movie by far for me is when they think they've done their job and they're fucking celebrating.
Yeah, I got a little Ario speedwagon going on.
Ario speedwagon's going, and you see like just what I'm complaining about. You see the typical like Final Girl doing battle with the monster on the screens in the background. If they would have kept this just at the underground facility and we would have seen these little snippets of what the kids are doing once in a while there, they could have the same exchanges that they have in the actual movie. Just I thought it should be a little bit more subdued, like in the background, instead of pronounced as if we're supposed to care, and like it's like that's the movie. I don't know. It's artistic choice.
Okay. I mean, I think I did think the same thing watching the movie to an extent, that it would have been kind of fun to see her start kicking his ass back on the screens behind them. But I also feel like when that red phone rings, you're not really surprised as a viewer, because you're like, okay, so Kurt fucking fell down a giant cliff. That dude dead. Jules was beheaded. We know she's dead. The guy played by Jesse Williams had a fucking sword through his throat. What's my biggest complaint in the movie is that Judah Buckner is in the back of that RV with them for like the whole first half of the trip, before and like waiting to kill someone. I'm like, no, he would have murdered someone as soon as he got in there. Okay. But still, like all those victims were so clearly dead. So like you're in the back of your mind, you're like, Marty's not dead. Something's fucked up here. Marty's not dead. We're only an hour into this movie. It's not over yet.
Yeah, and I like the idea. I mean, of like the technicians being like infallible and missing it. I mean, that's what makes that scene when they're celebrating kind of cool. It's because like the people that are in the control room or the war room, if you will, celebrating even when terrible things are going on screen. I mean, that's the same thing that our leaders will do when they're bombing other countries and killing innocent people. They're celebrating because they think it's a win for them. It's a very interesting mirror image of society. I just needed a little bit more of that, Travis.
And the blowing off of steam and like the gallows humor, all that stuff is very much like, cops and stuff and politicians, they're going to have that kind of, and billionaires, they're going to have those kinds of jokes.
These monsters. Okay. Now, I don't do this often, but I have to do it tonight because I got to be honest in my heart. I don't understand I just don't. I was trying my hardest. I had a lot on my mind. It's grading period here. I'm trying to grade papers. I don't understand like what the situation is here. Like, why do they have to have them pick these monsters again? And like, why are they have all these monsters? What the fuck is that? I understand that they have to get these specific people to die under certain circumstances in order for the old ones to be happy, but what is it with these fucking creatures?
You just said it. It's to make the old ones happy. The old ones have, whatever the name of this organization is, the old ones have let them have these ancient creatures, the kind of stuff that they say that nightmares come from. things that inspired. So we have like the Sugar Plum Fairy, that ballerina with like teeth for her face, right? And we have werewolves and ghosts and unicorns and all this stuff that make up our myths. And we have other weirder things like the fucking shining girls we see for half a second, and we see like a clown that might be Pennywise, and in a lot of ways there's some Ready Player One stuff going on here with
our own myths.
Yeah, but all of it's based on the idea being that all of the modern fiction is based on these ancient myths. So the old ones just like these creatures and they like the stories. The old ones are very interested in the story. Like they're the viewers of what's happening here. They are the ones that want to see one of the characters' tits. They even say at one point, like they have certain things that they are titillated by and that they want to see, and they have certain rules in place that they demand to have happen, or else they won't be satisfied. Which that's silly, but that's true of any god in any version of anything.
Yeah, throw them to the lions. Is there any hints that like the old ones are like responsible for like the horror in general, or like our ideas of it?
It says that all these creatures and monsters are like older than anything. I don't know that they necessarily, well, I guess it presumably would have been created by the old ones, but we have access to them, or this organization has access to them because of the old ones. I mean, you could start to really start to be like, how the fuck did this work? Because a lot of this is about modernization, right? The deeper they go down into this underground system, the more that it gets away from like the steel doors and like electronics, and it gets into like stone walls and like ancient kind of stuff. So there is part of me, it's like, well, how did they fucking do all this before they created this giant system that could like shuffle them around in these cells and stuff? But it's fair, it's a fucking movie. We don't have to like sit here and pick it apart entirely.
No, and you got to have some mystery. I remember though, that's probably why I busted out of the theater so mad. Because this does commit a cardinal sin for me. This commits what I like to call the architect sin. That's when
Matrix. This is a Matrix reference.
Yep. That's when like guy comes out at the very end and explains what the fuck has been going on. When you've already kind of made up your mind whether or not you like the movie or even understand it, he's like, okay, there's 8 minutes left. Here's what's been happening the whole time, and here's what you have to do. I never like this. It's just a person talking about it, saying what's happening. I don't know.
That's fair, but she's only saying things that Richard Jenkins and Bradley Whitford had already told us. She's just now saying it to them.
They're giving little nuggets here and reacting to what their job is, but she's like, the ancient ones you have to do this. You have to have this person, this person, this person. Ritual.
But they literally, the directors explain it to Marty and Dana, but Richard Jenkins' character and Bradley Whitford's character over the course of the film has already explained virtually everything that she tells them to us throughout the course of the movie.
Yeah, kind of piecemealing it out. Okay.
Right. So, since those two characters don't survive, which one of my big complaints about the movie is from a design standpoint, this system purge button, like what if someone leans against this thing? That's a terrible fucking idea. Why would you put this thing in place? But
right there.
It is so much. Every time I watch it, I gotta like pause it, and like when the elevator doors open and shit's coming out, I gotta rewind it. And like, what am I looking at here? You got like some fucking robot scorpion, you got this bat dragon thing. There's so many fucking weird things happening. It's so fun to me.
The creatures are cool. But like most of these fucking top criticisms were just this like piss your pants, fanboy out, giggle and point at the references type of stuff that for some reason bothered the critics, while meanwhile like audiences are just eating it up. I don't know. Fun is fun. Like when's the next time you're gonna see all these different creatures in like the same like splash, just like a splash page in a horror movie? It's like the ultimate horror splash page.
And that's, at the end of the movie, it's got the little thing that says, any similarity to any characters or real people is purely coincidental. Like, no, it's not. That's fucking Pinhead. You've called him Fornicus and put razor blades in his head. But that's fucking Pinhead. I know Pinhead. That kind of stuff is going on, but in a weird way, I think it works that we don't get like. I think it'd be distracting if we had seen like actual Pennywise. You know, I like the references that they're making instead, and I like that there's some things that are really obvious, and some things you're like, what the fuck is that? Like, what is happening? And I've always been a fan in movies when there's just this level of chaos. The way that this movie crescendos, we're just like, you cannot stop this, you cannot fight this. This is it's fucking over. And we're watching the end of the world.
You got to be real smart and think of another way, because there's no battle here. You're fucked.
Yeah. And by the end of the movie, like, I think, you know, actually at the start of the movie, Marty says something along the lines of like, society's not collapsing, society is binding, right? He says like the concrete is being poured and filling in the gaps and all this kind of stuff, which is like a good point. And we see that the reality of that in the organization and how fucking structured they are and how inhuman they are in their modernized ways. So he's like ready for things to come apart, like even if it means handing the entire world over to these evil gods. And I think it's fucking cool and nihilistic as shit to have the end of the movie being like, okay, our heroes are causing the end of the world. The bad guys are right. They're the ones that you really want to win. But we're going to have our heroes win, and that's going to cause the end of our existence.
That's really well said. And yeah, you make a great point. When the men upstairs, or in this case downstairs, are in complete control and they're making these types of decisions, it's time to flush the toilet. A really cool ending, man. Interesting ending. I don't know.
I think that kind of, unless you were getting somewhere. I don't mean
no, jump on.
Well, I think that also kind of gets to a point that you were making earlier about connecting some of this to like critiques of those that make war and you know, those kinds of movers and shakers. One of the things that the director says that is, I think, new is they ask like, why is this happening to us? Like, why do you hate us? Like, why do you need to see us punished specifically? It's because of your youth, right? And I think that there's something about that too. Like, if we live in a system where young people can be, and not just in the US, throughout the world, can be gobbled up by the state and forced into doing things that are horrific and forced into war and all kinds of things and ground up and killed, in part because they're young, because they're able-bodied and can do it and that kind of stuff. So I feel like there's a lot of social critiques and that kind of stuff that's happening on so many different layers in this movie that it's just a smarter movie than it comes across as.
Especially with the manipulations, because you just look at these kids generally, they're kids just go out to have fun, but given the right temptation, anybody is going to succumb and become this quote unquote evil person that deserves to go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty interesting, Travis. Getting me thinking here a little bit.
Good. I want to get you thinking. I mean, this is not a perfect movie by any stretch. There's all kinds of plot holes we could sit there and unpack, but I think it's wholly unique within a very crowded genre, and that it takes all the things that we're used to seeing and twist them in a way that makes them fresh and unique to this movie.
All right, man. I'm out of notes and I'm fuddled here. My mind is swarming here. You're pleading a great case.
I'll make a couple last points. One thing I've always liked in this movie is again, like those pheromone things that are fucking with him, and that like Marty is immune to it. When Chris Hemsworth's character is like, okay, above all else, we have to stick together. They're like, no. And they make him like make this bad choice, right? Or like, you see this diary with these Latin words in it. You're not going to say that out loud, but maybe you are if there's some sort of hypnotic kind of like undertone that you can't quite hear.
Yeah.
You know, that's urging you to do it. Like there's all this stuff that's happening throughout the movie that makes it all those points in movies when you're like, oh, you wouldn't do that. Why are you don't go in the cellar, all that kind of stuff that they make it make sense here in ways that I just think are so fun. It's like they found the plot holes in a bunch of other movies and filled them, even if they still end up with some on their own. It's pretty much just their own thing. All right, should we wrap this up?
Damn. Yeah, this is going to be a tricky one.
And the Harbinger. I want to see them bathed in the crimson. Am I on speakerphone?
funny. It's funny.
It's funny. It's funny. I think that this movie has great levity. I'll make my final points. I think this movie has great levity. It has fantastic black comedy going throughout it. Not just our two office guys, Jenkins and Whitford, but particularly them. All that shit with the fucking mermaid and the he ends up getting eaten by it. I've always been so amused by that, but it's also tragic in its own funny way. And all these fucking monsters and stuff interacting together in ways that you'd never see in any other movie. This is like almost like the Avengers of horror movies or something, the Ready Player One of horror movies. You're not going to get this stuff in another movie in a way that makes a lick of sense. And it makes perfect sense to me the way that they've structured this all up. Is this movie heavily premise based and not that supported by the characters? Yeah, that's why we're not looking at super big stars, because these characters are kind of half baked and they kind of needed to be played by kids that were just getting started and that kind of thing. To me, this movie totally holds up. I've seen it. This is probably the fourth or fifth time I've seen it, and I enjoyed it every single time. It's a pretty, I think, unique movie in the genre. Holds up.
Oh, man, what a defense. You did a great job tonight, because I
did my best.
Watched the movie and I was like, oh, man, there's just so many I don't care moments here. And yet there's this stuff that's like tickling my interest in terms of the social commentary. You know, the power of suggestion is big in this. And yeah, there's this through line of this like Evil Dead meets Truman Show thing going on that like who could think of that? I mean, that's a great idea for a movie. And to pull it off and execute it, you know, some people can come up with a great idea and just not execute it. But I think for what this movie is trying to be, it absolutely delivers on its concept. There's no doubt about it. It may not be for a lot of it, may not be for me, but if I'm going to sit here and say what's wrong with the movie, we've got this or that, but I think it's stuff that they were willing to deal with in order to have this story come across. It's like you read a great graphic novel and not every single page is going to be, you know, filling you in on everything. It's just all about the panels and driving everything forward. And this really does kind of feel like a cool graphic novel. Richard Jenkins and Bradley Whitford are out of control. Chris Hemsworth can't say a line that I believe. He's acting as fucking atrocious in this. But again, this is like clay that's being manipulated by these people. And I think it's supposed to be. I wouldn't be surprised if Drew Goddard was like, play it like really dumb, like play it really dumb, like you can.
I think so.
Like you are like you are a bad actor in a movie and blah, blah, blah. And there's all this meta shit going on here. I would not deny it. I'm going to let this one slide by because you bring up a lot of great points and it does something interesting and fresh for the genre, and especially at a time when it desperately needed it in 2011. There was nothing going on there. It was fucking vacant Eli Roth horse shit. So I'm going to give it a tip of the hat of approval here, but you know, go in. I mean, one thing I wish this
I didn't hear the words. I didn't hear the words.
Okay. I could have used a prologue which wasn't just like the two guys talking and it just being like, hey, these guys are funny, like, oh, what are they doing something behind the scenes? I kind of wanted to be in on it a little more from the start. I guess that's where it lost me a little bit, because by the time it came out and everything was like, oh okay, I was like, I don't care. So I would have liked to have been in on the fun a little bit earlier. But other than that, this one slides by, man. I'm going to say it holds up, but I'm interested. If you've never emailed the show, I want to hear your opinion. If people like this film, let us know.
Cinema9 at cinema9pod at gmail.com.
Yeah.
And is this one of those, it holds up, that you're going to come back next week and say you had regrets?
No. I'll probably be thinking about it a little more. I'll dig into it.
Cool. And hopefully we'll get Mike's report when he comes back, and we'll get told all about his adventures in Arizona. I'm sure. We miss you, Michael, and we look forward to having you back on the show. We're not the same without the three of us all combined, and hopefully that will be the key. Hopefully that will be the case next week when we do what movie, Eric?
Well, you know what? I am going to bring us back to the beautiful year of 1998. A lot going on in 1998.
Yeah.
And for next week, we're going to revisit a film. It's a cult movie. A lot of people love this movie. You don't hear a lot of people talking about it nowadays, but It might deserve another watch, man. It's our second entry from director Alex Proyas, who brought us the Crow, a fantastic film that we all loved across the board. Dubbed a tech noir film. It's going to have a lot of interesting things to say. It's got an insane cast, man. Kiefer Sutherland, Bill Hurt, Jennifer Connelly, heads up.
Rufus Sewell.
Yeah, Dark City.
Yeah, awesome. Good call. I'm excited.
Yeah,
Dark City. Been a while.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, Dark City. We'll check that out next week. Is that streaming somewhere? Do you know?
I didn't check.
We'll find out.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. All right. Thank you, everybody. For Mike, for Travis. I'm Travis. And for Eric, we'll see you next time.
Happy Halloween, y'all.
Happy Halloween. I'm sorry I let you get attacked by a werewolf and then ended the world.